Hi there Waltineers, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast, recording in the early hours of the morning right now because the Experiences Showcase has only just wrapped up and wow, they really did deliver with this presentation this year, the Disney Park presentation, and I didn't know how they were going to top the presentation from 2024 because that was a bunch of mic drop moments of announcing all of these projects, but this year they gave us so much in the way of new details, new artwork, and also just a monumental amount of news to get into in this video today, and I'm going to discuss it all and provide some insight and analysis along the way. But if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below and also hit that notification bell, because in the coming months I'm going to be doing a lot of deep dives into these topics, because when we get details like this and we get all this new artwork, we can use that and uncover new details and investigate these different projects, and it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell as well. And where I want to begin today's video is actually saying that right now, coming out of this presentation, it really does feel like we're living through a new golden age of Imagineering, and it really does feel like Imagineering has its mojo back, and everything in terms of these projects, it feels quintessentially Disney, and it's just great to follow along with everything like this. And speaking of that, the Imagineering story season 2 has also been announced, as Leslie Iwerks is currently documenting the process of all of these different projects around the world. So in real time we're seeing an inside glimpse of these projects, and when they open, I'm guessing that's when the episodes come out. But the first episode is going to be coming out in early 2028, and so it's just great to see that season 2 of the Imagineering story is going to be coming to Disney Plus. And the other thing I want to say here very quickly is Neil Patrick Harris did a phenomenal job of hosting this Experiences Showcase, which you'd expect because, you know, Neil Patrick Harris, he's a pro, he's hosted the Emmys and the Tonys, and he's always done great work with that. But also, side note here, funny little fact, but Neil Patrick Harris, I found out recently, follows DSNY Newscast over on Twitter, and so in a way, kind of the Experiences Showcase was hosted by a fellow Waltineer, so I just thought it was a funny little side note to mention here. But where I want to begin today's video is talking about the Magic Kingdom, and more specifically, Villains Land. And that's the first thing that got confirmed, is that is going to be the name of Villains Land. It's not going to have a different name like, you know, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge or something like that. It's going to be known as Villains Land. And the justification and the reasoning behind that is because in Magic Kingdom, all the other lands have land in their title, you know, Fantasyland, Frontierland, Adventureland, Tomorrowland, and so it makes sense that this land would be called Villains Land, and so that's going to be the official name of this area. And when I did my video the other day on the Imagineering Pavilion, I spoke about Piston Peak and the model that we saw there, but across the way they had some clay models of what they called the Dark Forest, and I speculated at the time, could this Dark Forest be acting as kind of a cross dissolve or a transition point from the wooded area of Piston Peak into Villains Land? And now we've got confirmation that that is going to be the case, as we're going to be entering Villains Land through the Dark Forest, and with all these different twisted trees and things like that, and we'll come across a broken, twisted wishing well. And this is all in terms of the backstory for Villains Land, as somebody has made a evil wish within the wishing well and has corrupted the wishing well, and it's broken apart, and the evil has infused the land around the wishing well, and that's how Villains Land has come to be. And it was mentioned specifically that Cruella, the evil queen, and Dr. Facilier are creating their own lairs within Villains Land. And you could look at that two ways. Could it be meet and greets within the land? Possibly. But also, creating their own little lairs, is it going to be that these characters in particular are going to be anchoring certain establishments or offerings within Villains Land? And I think more likely, considering who they are, it does lend itself to that, as this is just me speculating here, but possibly could Cruella host a clothier, like a shop or store within Villains Land, you know, selling villainous outfits, because obviously the fashion side of things with Cruella. You could see the evil queen serving up poisoned apple potions or things like that within a quick service. That would lend itself quite well to something like that. And also Dr. Facilier, could that be Dr. Facilier's parlour? Could it be some sort of quick service or bar within Villains Land? I think all of these are possibilities, and I just wanted to make a note of those because it's interesting that those 3 characters were spotlighted in terms of having their own areas within Villains Land. And then we come to confirmation surrounding the 2 major attractions within Villains Land. And the first one is to do with a roller coaster, and this is going to be a Maleficent themed roller coaster, and we're going to be racing throughout the Enchanted Briar, around the mountaintop fortress and the castle top of Maleficent there, the Mistress of Evil. And this is going to be a traditional seated roller coaster, as you can see in the artwork here, much in the same way as like Expedition Everest or Big Thunder Mountain. Disney do like to use these kind of roller coaster trains because they're more accessible. Personally, I think it would have been quite cool for them to use a suspended roller coaster system outside, similar to what they're doing with the Monsters Inc. door coaster there, but this is going to be more accessible to more people. Obviously, it's got height requirements, so the little ones probably won't be able to ride this attraction, but it was described as a roller coaster experience that they're throwing a lot at in terms of special effects and doing things that they've never done before with a roller coaster. So very impressive artwork we can see here. I love how it's themed to kind of that fairy tale book being opened up, and that animation style from Sleeping Beauty there. And this creative concept art gives us a good look at the Maleficent roller coaster, but we can actually go one step further here, as we've got our first glimpse at the Maleficent themed roller coaster model within Villains Land. As over on the Imagineering YouTube channel, they've got the YouTube series Pardon Our Pixie Dust, and in the latest episode that was released just after the Experiences showcase, they've shown footage of the model for the Maleficent roller coaster. And back in May, I was actually able to see this working model for myself as part of a special media preview with other members of the media at an off-site Imagineering facility. And when I first saw it, my overall first impression was just one of, wow, this is going to be next level theming at the Magic Kingdom. And as you can see in this footage and with the photos that you're seeing on the screen right now, I think you'd agree that this is going to be truly on a twisted grand scale, just like they promised back in 2024. And as you can see, the model doesn't just look incredibly grand in scale and scope, but it's also quite sprawling as well. And the roller coaster track kind of weaves in and out and around and kind of is intertwined with the thematic elements around the land as well there. And judging by this photo here, which shows kind of the gateway, it looks as if we might be walking underneath the roller coaster track to get to the entrance to the attraction, just based on that photo there. And if that's the case, that's something which I have previously said would be a great addition to Villains Land, because it would add a layer of kineticism and kinetic energy to the whole area, having the roller coaster kind of weave around over the top of your head there as you walk up to the attraction. But Imagineering also mentioned in the video here that they designed it in such a way for the Forbidden Mountain to look like it's been conjured from the ground with some sort of malevolent magic to make it possible here. And judging by just the size of the people within these photos, it looks like this Forbidden Mountain might be on the same kind of scale and size as Expedition Everest. And if that's the case, then this is going to be a huge addition to Magic Kingdom here. And considering it's going to be quite tall, it brings up the other idea, which is where's it going to be located from a sightline perspective. And considering if it is going to be that kind of height, it would probably need to be set fairly far back within Villains Land, so therefore it kind of minimises the amount of visual intrusion into other lands like Fantasyland and other areas of the park. But you also want to use it as kind of a way to draw people down and into Villains Land as well. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where this is located within Villains Land. And then the second attraction within the land is very similar to something which I said that I would love to see within Villains Land, as at the time, a couple of months ago, I spoke about the Voyage of the Villains. I think it would have been great to have like Hades and the River Styx and travelling throughout and bring all the villains into one attraction. But this attraction is officially going to be bringing together all of your favourite villains into one attraction, as we're going to be going down into the catacombs beneath the Evil Queen's palace, and we're going to be going inside the Mirror Realm, which has been conjured up by the magic mirror to see things from his perspective, as only he can envision them. And we're going to be coming face to face with all the different classic and fan favourite villains within this attraction. So really great to see this being the second major attraction within Villains Land. And it was said on stage that this will be a mix of special effects, physical set pieces and multimedia, you know, digital projection as well. So they're throwing everything at this attraction, and they're going to be doing things that they've never done before with this attraction as well. So very exciting to see those two attractions be confirmed as the two attractions within Villains Land here. And we haven't got the name of this second attraction. Possibly, could it be Mirror Realm? Personally, I hope it isn't, because try saying Mirror Realm 3 times fast, it's going to be pretty difficult. Then, speaking of names, we do have a lot of names for the other attractions within the different projects around Walt Disney World. And I want to move down out of Villains Land and back into the Frontierland part of Magic Kingdom here with Piston Peak National Park. And we do have confirmation that the rally race ride is going to be officially known as Cars Ridge Run Rally. So another kind of tongue twister there. Disney love doing this with the tongue twisters, like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and things like that. And the other attraction within the land is the family-friendly Spinner attraction, and it's a flat ride that will be known as Miss Fritter's Daredevil Spin-Along. So it's just a simple flat ride, but it's pretty elaborately themed, I would say, from looking at the artwork here. But it's a family-friendly attraction for all ages. So great to have something for the little ones to be able to enjoy as well. And it's obviously using the character from Cars 3. And this will be a huge school bus-sized animatronic at the centre of this family-friendly attraction. Now, coming back to the Cars Ridge Run Rally, we've received even more artwork for this attraction, and we don't have confirmation around the ride system for this attraction yet, but we do know that as you go up into the Piston Peak mountaintop, there's going to be snow-capped mountains up there that are going to look extremely impressive both in daytime and nighttime. And as you come down out of the Piston Peak mountaintop, it's going to have a lot of camelback humps on the way down there. And then as you come out of the cave system and enter the geyser field, the geysers are going to race alongside you and kind of chase you along the way, leading up to the big geyser that's going to go off, and that's called Old Tankful. So the rally race attraction is going to have lots of interactive elements and special effects, along with the fantastic environmental theming along the way as well. So great to see that. Then I want to talk about some updates to some classics at Walt Disney World. Before we get into Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, I want to talk about some classics here. And the first one is that it was officially announced at long last, a revamp is going to be coming to Journey into Imagination. And this was announced right at the end of the presentation. No details on it in particular really here, but it was announced that the return of Dreamfinder and Figment are going to be coming to Journey into Imagination. So I'm probably looking out at Destination D23 next year at Walt Disney World, probably finding out more details about what they've got planned for Journey into Imagination, but it's great to see that this is on the cards and it's officially on the table here as a revamp, and they've announced it. So great to see. That was one of my predictions going into D23. I thought right now was the time for that to happen, and lo and behold it has. So great to see that. Then we've got Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress, and we've got confirmation surrounding the new voice actors for the two main characters of John and Sarah, the mother and father figure within the attraction, as Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle will be the new voice of John within Carousel of Progress here. Great voice casting there. And Jamie Lee Curtis of 1980s Halloween fame and Freaky Friday and lots of other movies as well will voice the mother character known as Sarah. So some great A-list talent there voicing John and Sarah within this new version of Carousel of Progress. And then we've also got artwork showing us this second scene within the attraction that will be set within the 1980s, and this is Halloween night in the mid-1980s, and you can see there John is actually on the side stage on the porch, and this is the one scene where Sarah's going to be taking centre stage and holding court and telling people about life in the 1980s there. So great to see that. And it was also announced that it's going to be opening in late spring 2027. So put that in your calendars right now, late spring 2027. This will be open before summer. So great to see that this has been such a quick turnaround for such a large update to this classic attraction here. And that's not all in terms of classic attractions getting revamps and updates, as Spaceship Earth has been announced again to be getting a revamp. And the reason why I say again here is because if you remember way back now in D23 in 2019, it was announced at the time then that they were going to be updating Spaceship Earth, and they were going to be changing out the attraction from communication to talking more about storytelling instead. And it had some people concerned that it was going to become very Disney IP centric within the attraction here. Now, this will be the first time Spaceship Earth has been updated for around 20 years, but they did say that the original theme is going to be changing from communication, being the core theme at the moment, to the new broader theme of human connection. And so comparing this against what was in 2019, this idea of human connection I don't think is as far away from the current theme of communication. We've said that it's going to have new magic in every scene, and it's still going to remain a journey through time by centering it around human connection. It gives them a bit more flexibility for the narrative and the storyline here. So it will be very interesting to see when that actually begins, because to actually revamp something like Spaceship Earth, it's a very difficult one to revamp. And I really hope they do a lengthy refurbishment on the ride system as well, because if you've ridden that recently, it's bumpy. And it's not meant to be bumpy, to the point where you can even see it in the footage when I'm filming on the ride here. You can see my hands moving because of the movements of the vehicles, which it shouldn't be like that. So hopefully that gets a refurbishment as well. Then, speaking of refurbishments, we move into Animal Kingdom here. And at long last, they've announced that, yes, they are going to be fixing the Yeti within Expedition Everest. This is a big one, because this is one that people have been asking for many, many years. He's going to be discoing no more. His disco days are behind him, and they will, at some point in the next few years, update and fix the Yeti within Expedition Everest, which means that that attraction also will be having some extended refurbishment time, because it's a pretty difficult animatronic to disassemble and fix within Expedition Everest. But it's great that at long last they're going to be doing that and putting in a fully working Yeti within Expedition Everest. And I speculated before that this was on the cards, because with all the advancements they've made now with Project Exo and the exoskeletons of these huge characters, if you couple that with animatronic technology, you can have a much lighter, larger animatronic figure that can move a lot faster. And so that would make perfect sense for something like the Yeti within Expedition Everest. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull this off, but that's my own personal speculation for how they might end up updating the Yeti within Expedition Everest there. Then sticking with Animal Kingdom, we need to talk about Tropical Americas, as the Encanto attraction will be called Antonio's Fiesta de Encanto. Now, I've probably butchered that, but you can see it on the screen right now. It is what it is in terms of me pronouncing that right now. It's very early in the morning. Cut me some slack there. But it's going to be focused on Antonio turning 5 and the day that he gets his gift of being able to talk to animals from the casita here. And all of the original voice cast from Encanto are going to be returning for this attraction to voice their characters. And we've got some new concept art that shows the ride vehicle within the attraction travelling upstairs within the casita. And it looks actually very similar to a recent Disney patent that was filed that showed how you could go up a level without actually going upstairs, just through a special effect and a kind of an illusioneering trick here. So it'll be interesting to see if that does actually come to fruition. It's using that patent within this attraction here. And more details about this are that it will contain 50 audio animatronic animals throughout this whole attraction, so really putting the animals into this attraction to make it work for Animal Kingdom here. And the big thing is that this won't be a height requirement for this attraction, so it's going to be suitable for the whole family to be able to enjoy this attraction together, which is great again in terms of capacity at Animal Kingdom for what it was replacing, which was Primeval World, which had a height requirement. So great that everyone can ride this attraction together. And the model from the Imagineering Pavilion shows one of the show scenes for this attraction within the kitchen, and you can see, you know, the level of theming that this is going to have, and it looks very promising. And then also within Tropical Americas, we've got the Indiana Jones attraction, and we've got the name revealed for this attraction, and it's going to be Indiana Jones and the Myth of the Jade Serpent. And it was announced by Harrison Ford himself at the presentation that he will be the actual face model for the audio animatronic figures within this new Indiana Jones attraction at Animal Kingdom. And the reason why this is a big deal is because if you know anything about the history of the Indiana Jones attraction over at Disneyland, there was like some sort of licensing or rights issue with using Harrison Ford at the time within the attraction. So Indiana Jones doesn't actually look that much like Harrison Ford within that attraction on purpose. So with this using Harrison Ford's actual face as the model for this animatronic, you'll probably be able to see this animatronic in clearer light, unlike the one that you can see over in Disneyland. And this has an original storyline for this attraction, as it's been promised in the past, as Indy is going to be in the midst of exploring the mysterious temple near a once water-filled underground cave, and a local legend says that the passageway leads directly to the Maya underworld and is protected by a serpentine creature called Sulcan. And on the ride, we're going to be sucked in through this portal into the Mayan underworld, where we're going to be encountering monstrous bats, larger-than-life scorpions, fires, flames, and of course snakes, which Indy is obviously not going to be too pleased about. So that's the original storyline for this attraction. So it features a lot of animals as well within the attraction, which makes sense for it to be within Animal Kingdom. Then Tropical Americas, the final attraction with this area, is the Carousel that has this as the name that you can see on the screen. You saw how I butchered the name of the Encanto attraction. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this name. I'll just call it the Animal Carousel here. And it's going to feature 22 animal Disney characters that will be hand carved as wooden creatures on this carousel that you'll be able to go and pick on this artisan carousel within Tropical Americas here. Then we've got to move on over to Monsters Inc. land over at Hollywood Studios, as we've got new footage inside the door warehouse loading area, which is the scare or the laugh floor, depending on which part of the timeline you're within Monsters Inc. here. And this is another highly detailed animatic of this loading area, and it was described that we're going to be lifted 40 feet up into the air in 4 seconds and then launched out into the door warehouse vault. And then the other attraction within Monstropolis, which is the former location of Muppet Vision 3D, is going to be the Glob Theatre. And we now know that the all-new show that will be within this location will be called Welcome to Monstropolis, and there's actually going to be a new theme song titled the same thing, Welcome to Monstropolis, that's been written by Randy Newman, who wrote the music for Monsters Inc. And it looks to be some sort of play on a talk show that Mike Wazowski is going to be hosting, welcoming people to Monstropolis, and it's got a blend of audio animatronic figures and what looks to be screens also within the artwork there as well. And the audio animatronic figures over on the side, you can see kind of a monster that's a one-man band playing all the different instruments, and then there's also going to be some sort of camera operator as well. That's the reason why I'm saying it seems to be some sort of talk show where they're filming it. So an interesting concept for an attraction here. Can't wait to see how this actually turns out. And we've also got confirmation of other locations within Monstropolis. So we've got Archie's Scare Pig Pizza, which is going to be taking over the former location of Pizza Rizzo. Monsters University Alumni Club, unknown yet what that's going to be. And then next door to that is a store that will be called the Scareporium. And then, of course, we've also got Harryhausen's restaurant from the Monsters Inc. movie that's also being brought to life. And as we can see here with this artwork, and confirmation that there will be an animatronic sushi chef, just like from within the movie, that will be at the centre of the restaurant, chopping up all the different sushi dishes and things like that within the Harryhausen's restaurant. So really bringing that environment from the movie to life in a real setting that you can go and eat inside that restaurant. So just great to see within Monstropolis here. But the final bit of news about this is that we won't have to wait too long to experience some of this, as Monstropolis is actually going to be opening a phased approach. So the Monsters Inc. door coaster is going to be opening at a later stage because that's taking a bit longer to construct. But the main section of Monstropolis, where Muppets Courtyard used to be, will be opening next year in 2027. So we'll hopefully be able to go and experience the Welcome to Monstropolis and the new pizzeria there and all the other things that Monstropolis has to offer within Hollywood Studios. And it's great to get that area back and in operation at Hollywood Studios yet again. And then we need to move on over to the Disneyland Resort side of things here, as also at the end of the presentation, it was announced by Thomas Maslam that a new Tomorrowland is indeed in the works for Disneyland soon. Now, soon is a pretty open time frame here, so we don't know when we're going to get more details about this, but it was said that there'll be new attractions, more open spaces, and a new vision of an optimistic future within Disneyland's Tomorrowland. And it's great to see it's been confirmed that they are working towards doing that soon. Then we've got Coco over at Disney California Adventure, and Imagineering is going to be working alongside Pixar to integrate elements of Coco 2 and obviously elements of the original story of Coco into this attraction. So seems like it's going to be a classic retelling of the attraction, but also telling new parts of the new upcoming Coco 2 as well, which also means that this attraction might not open until Coco 2 comes out, which is going to be in 2029. So might be a little bit longer, but depending on what kind of elements they're including, obviously I won't want any spoilers for the movie within the attraction, but something to make a note of there. And the story will take place 1 year after the events of the first movie, and will enter through a museum dedicated to Miguel's great-great-grandfather, Hector Rivera. And this is something which I mentioned in a recent video, as on a previous piece of artwork it did reference having a museum within the courtyard area there. And we're going to be joining Miguel and travelling by boat through the memories of the land of the dead. So that's what this attraction is going to be. Looks like a great attraction, and yet another boat ride. I'm very happy about that. And then on the other side of California Adventure, we've got Avengers Campus, as this will actually see both of these attractions of Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab open in 2028. And we've got some new details about Infinity Defense here, as we've got footage showing the ginormous physical set pieces that will be blended with the screens and the media projection within the attraction here, but extremely impressive physical set pieces that we're going to be travelling through and past within this attraction here. So they're really bringing this world to life with some physical props, but also they're going to be using a new type of technology for the media projection. As Kevin Feige recently mentioned, as you move the ride vehicle, it's going to dynamically switch and change as you move throughout the attraction. So interesting from that perspective. And we've also got some new artwork depicting the pre-show area that will be Miss Marvel giving us a mission briefing that we will need to assemble the Avengers to go and take on King Thanos. And this attraction is going to see many of the MCU cast come back to reprise their roles within the attraction. And the Stark Flight Lab attraction, we've got some new artwork for that as well, that shows that Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Mackie and Brie Larson as Captain Marvel will be the flight instructors for this attraction, telling you what you're going to about to experience with this kind of innovative flat ride here within Avengers Campus. Then we need to move internationally with the news here, as Disneyland Paris. Hyperspace Mountain within Discoveryland will finally be no more from next year in 2027, as this overlay is going to be removed and Space Mountain will finally return to its classic Jules Verne inspiration, with the original music returning alongside an all-new Jules Verne revamp to the exterior of Space Mountain as well. So that's something which a lot of the Disneyland Paris fans have been wanting for many years, and finally we're getting it. So music to my ears from that standpoint there. And then in terms of Disney Adventure World and the Lion King ride and land that's being built over there, we've got new artwork depicting the exterior of the Lion King attraction. And it was stated that it's not just going to be telling the happier moments of the Lion King, but it's going to be telling Simba's whole story here. And so that will likely include some of the more pivotal and happier times that made Simba the character that he is, much like the loss of Mufasa, and also his iconic showdown with Scar from the animated classic that's at the end of that movie. It's going to be the whole story of Simba and the Lion King within this attraction, which is great to see as well. And then moving to Disney Cruise Line, we've got a new class of ship that was announced that will be coming to Disney Cruise Line in the coming years, and it will be sized between the classic ships of the Magic and Wonder and the newer, larger class of ships like the Wish class ships. So there'll be a new class of ships coming to Disney Cruise Line there. And speaking of the Wish class ships, the fourth ship to that class is the Disney Believe. And we now know that Tinkerbell will be the character on the bow of that ship, and on the stern of the ship will be Woody and Buzz, and Moana will be the atrium statue in the centre of the ship there. It was also stated that Disney Cruise Line will have 13 ships in operation around the world by late 2030, and they're doubling the number of cruisers that will be setting sail out of California, out of the port of San Diego. Then we've got Hong Kong, Shanghai and Tokyo, and Hong Kong has a new Avengers attraction that's going to be built fairly soon, and we've got new artwork for this attraction that's kind of a drop tower. It looks very similar to Tower of Terror here, and it's going to be within the Stark Expo, and they're building out a Quinjet landing platform out the front, and there's going to be a new drop tower attraction standing 120 feet tall that is going to be Peter Parker's research testing lab. And because he's obviously testing new technology, it's going to invite also some people who want to meddle with that technology. And then over in Shanghai Disneyland, we've got the Spider-Man roller coaster, which is very far along in its construction. And we've got new artwork showing the Spider-Man roller coaster that seems like it's going to be titled the Web Coaster. And it's going to have larger-than-life spider bots lining the path of the roller coaster. And then finally, for Tokyo Disneyland, Space Mountain Earthrise is going to be opening in 2027. And as part of this, we received some new footage of the launch sequence for this new generation of Space Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland here, and it looks fantastic from this sort of standpoint here. I'm not a massive fan of the exterior of the building. I like the classic, you know, Space Mountain design, but it looks like a big upgrade on the interior of Space Mountain here. And also within Tomorrowland there's going to be Sugar Rush Sweet Rescue, and that's the name of the Wreck-It Ralph attraction. That's the blaster ride to fight and restore some sugar bugs to their original form within that attraction. So that is everything from Disney Experiences Showcase, and I'm going to be going into a lot of this in greater depth over the next few months. So like I said before, do subscribe down below, because this is just digesting the news and going into some of the details right now, but we've got a lot to get into. So the work now begins on investigating a lot of these projects as well. And speaking of that, it's over to you, the Waltineers, as I would like to know, what are all your thoughts and opinions on this Experiences Showcase and all of the monumental amount of new details that we've received for all of these different projects around the world, and what are you most excited for and most interested in? Leave that down below in the comments section. And I'd also like to say a massive thank you to the official Waltineer Club over on Patreon for always supporting this channel. It's greatly appreciated. And a huge shout out to the official Waltineer Gold members that you can see here on the screen, as well as the official Waltineer Diamond members JC Russell, Justin Tupper, and Tim and Stephen Parsons. And with that being said for today, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.